Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our monthly new member onboarding. My name is Sydney Konahia, and I'm the Manager of Membership Retention and Recruitment with IFA, and we have a very informative hour set up for you. Our staff speakers today are, here we go. Our staff speakers today are Jeff Hanscom, VP of State and Local Government Relations and Counsel at IFA, and he'll be kicking things off with an overview of IFA's Government Relations Department. To speak about the IFA Foundation and its programs, we have Eric Johnson, Manager of Veterans Programs. And to provide benefit information and general IFA information, we have Paul Rocchio, VP of Development and Member Services, and Brittany Cosby, Senior Manager of Certification Programs. And I am going to go ahead and send things over to Jeff to get us started.
Thanks, Sydney. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your membership. We look forward to working with all of you who are new to IFA and look forward to continuing to work with all of you who are old-time veterans of IFA, and look forward to seeing hopefully all of you next month out in wonderful Las Vegas for the first time since 2019, I think. So anyway, looking forward to that. I'm sure some of my colleagues here will talk a little bit more at length about convention, but like I said, just look forward to seeing everybody next month. Go ahead, Sydney. So as Sydney mentioned, Jeff Hanscom, VP State and Local Government Relations with the Franchise Association. I've been with IFA for 8-ish years now. Hard to believe. This is the GR team. Mike Lehman oversees all the government relations, both state and federal. Some of my colleagues, Ben Hayter and Madeline, work on the federal side. Like I said, I handle all of the state and local, and then our grassroots and FranPac activities are with Erica, Anna, and Paul. Go ahead, Sydney. Just a really quick overview of GR, or government relations, right? For those of you who may be new to the trade association world, what is it that government relations, or GR, does? We are essentially your sword and shield when it comes to dealing with legislative and or regulatory policies at either the federal level, state level, or all the way down to the local level. You have probably heard already, IFA's mission statement is to protect, enhance, and promote franchising. We like to think that we try to do all three at the same time within the GR department. Obviously doing our best. Protecting is probably the biggest part that we do. But we do our fair share of enhancing and promoting as well, which hopefully leads to less times that we need to protect the business model. But like I said, we are the folks who are either walking the halls of Congress or walking the state legislative capitals around the country, or even city halls when it comes down to that level. Go ahead, Sydney. And some of our tools, right? Grassroots and grass tops advocacy. Again, for those, like I said, a little bit unfamiliar potentially with the trade association world, just a quick synopsis of what grassroots and grass tops mean. Grassroots is when we engage with your franchisees across the country, right? Those folks are unquestionably the best messengers that we have from a government relations perspective when we're talking with lawmakers, whether they're federal, state, or local. It's always great for me to fly into a place like Sacramento or Austin, Texas, and let them know I'm from Washington and I'm here to help. But when the message comes from local business owner in Texas or in California, it just resonates that much more thoroughly with lawmakers at all levels. So, and I'll touch a little bit more on grassroots in a second here. But like I said, grassroots engagement with local franchise business owners is essential for us in the GR department to get done what we need to get done in order to protect the business model. Grass tops is very similar to grassroots, but instead of engaging local franchisees, grass tops refers to the engagement of senior leadership within the franchise business community, whether it's franchisors, whether it's suppliers, folks like that, C-suite type of folks who may have a relationship with state senator XYZ or congressman so-and-so. So if we have an issue where we can leverage grass tops connections, we will undoubtedly come to IFA membership and ask for connections within your brands who may be able to help move the needle on various legislative and regulatory issues. FranPac is IFA's political action committee. That is a fancy way of saying FranPac is the mechanism that we use to support federal candidates who we believe support franchising. FranPac is supported by individual contributions from IFA members. If you have questions or wish to get involved in FranPac, which I would highly recommend and ask that you consider, happy to connect you with Erica and Anna on our team who handle all things FranPac. But that's, like I said, one of our larger tools, especially at the federal level, to help support candidates that we believe help support franchising. Public awareness campaigns, that's really just a general term about a lot of the things we do from a GR perspective. A lot of that's more in the enhance bucket of the protect, enhance, and promote. One, we Power Brands was one, but more specifically, we are in year 2 of our Open for Opportunity campaign. That is a multi-pronged approach, communications, public relations campaign that we have embarked upon. We began last year. We did 8 different roadshow stops across the country that are ways to promote, highlight, spotlight franchising, whether it's through franchisees, whether it's through back of house tours with lawmakers, roundtable discussions with third-party groups like diversity chambers of commerce, things like that, mayors. That's one of our biggest tools and really one of our biggest efforts right now. We have our first Open for Opportunity stop of 2023 coming up next week in sunny and warm Minneapolis. So that's number 1. We will be going to New Jersey after that, Las Vegas in conjunction with IFA's convention, Texas, Washington, and places like that across the country. Really, our stops, our roadshow stops are dictated in 2 different ways. One, places where we want to engage franchisee and local third-party groups because we think it's good for franchising in general. And 2, and this is a little bit more important, and I'm a little bit biased, obviously, but in places that we see potential problematic legislation coming up or coming down the pipe. So Minneapolis, that was not chosen because everybody wants to go to Minneapolis in January. It was chosen because the Minneapolis City Council has been a perennial challenge for the franchise model. It was also chosen because Minnesota recently switched from a split legislative control, meaning Republicans and Democrats one had the House, one had the Senate, to now it's what's called a Democratic trifecta, where Democrats control the state House, the state Senate, and the governor's mansion. And all of that to say that just because it's the Democratic trifecta doesn't mean all of a sudden they're going to introduce really bad policy. But when you couple that with Minneapolis City Council and places like that's, some of the reasons. So we use it as a way to get out there, tell the good story of franchising, engage with franchisees and business owners and third-party groups so that if or when we do have a legislative challenge, we can point back to some of the relationships we have built through Open for Opportunity to help leverage that and hopefully minimize, like I said, legislative or regulatory challenges. So certainly did want to highlight the Open for Opportunity campaign. And, there are multiple opportunities for brands and franchisees to engage in those efforts. And we're happy to talk to anyone who is interested in doing that. So feel free to reach out to me or anyone on the GR team about how we may be able to work with you all and your franchisees in various places across the country as we continue OFO 2023. Direct lobbying. That's the easiest one, right? That's the, shaking the hands, meeting them with the congressmen, congresswomen, at the state, federal, local level, and basically telling them what franchising is, what it isn't, and how legislation that they may be considering could be harmful to the franchise business model. It's really fundamentally, it's an education effort. You would be, and maybe you wouldn't be, but you would be surprised. I often am surprised, even though I've done this for a while, about how little the franchise business model is understood by lawmakers, right? First, when you hear franchising, most legislators immediately think fast food. And second, when they think fast food, they just think one giant company. They don't think about local independent owner operators. So it's fundamentally an education effort. And then we build on that education to try to ensure that policies that these folks are considering are not ultimately harmful to the business model. Research and data, everything in the Open for Opportunity campaign that we do and that we are doing is based on foundational research that we partnered with an outside economics firm to work with us on back in 2021. All of that is really the foundational building blocks for our public messaging. And I will highlight another opportunity we're always looking for more data from you, from your franchisees. So I will highlight that in a few more slides. But when we do come asking, it is great If you, as a brand, can either respond to inquiries or surveys or data points, or encourage your franchisees to do it, because those are just giving us more arrows in the quiver when we go and talk to lawmakers. Media, that's a constant drumbeat, especially when you have an issue that's high profile, like we've had in California over the last 18 months. When we have these issues in DC, we are constantly engaging with the media, whether it's digital media, social media, print media, interviews with publication. I mean, you name it, there's, it's me, it's Matt, it's Mike, someone on the GR team is interfacing with reporters on a relatively regular occurrence to ensure that our message is alongside any other messages that are in these stories. Oftentimes, depending on the publication, some are slightly left, some are slightly right, some are more than slightly left or right. So we want to ensure that the story is as balanced as possible, because obviously a lot of lawmakers look to the Sacramento Bee or other publications that are in their jurisdictions, and that helps paint their picture of what the business model is. So we want to ensure that our messaging is a part of that. So we do that relatively regularly. And that's also part of the focusing on our key messaging. So go ahead, Sydney. Franchise Action Network. So this goes back to the grassroots that I mentioned at the first bullet. The Franchise Action Network is our network of franchisees and suppliers and everybody else in the franchise community that has indicated that if an issue is at my doorstep, I want to be helpful. It's super, super important for us to have advocates across the country in every congressional jurisdiction, in every state and local jurisdiction, so that if or when, not if, but when we do have a legislative or regulatory challenge, we have folks who are willing and ready to contact lawmakers, to meet with lawmakers, to tell their story. Because like I said, when you put a personal face on franchising, it paints a different picture for a legislator when he or she is considering signing on to sponsoring, supporting, or opposing a piece of legislation, right? It makes a real difference when they hear from John Doe business owner in their district on Main Street who sponsors the Little League team, as opposed to just a nameless, faceless kind of franchise amorphous concept, right? So I would encourage folks, if you haven't already, it's as simple as texting FAN, F-A-N, to 52886. We won't spam you. You can opt out if you want to. Don't do that, please. But like I said, when we come to, like I said, we have an issue in California. We need franchise advocates to, write their senators, write their congresspeople, things like that. That's how we get to these. That's how we engage with local franchise owners. So again, encourage you to either join yourselves, disseminate it to your franchisees, encourage them to join. It's really, like I said, it's a huge tool in our toolbox as we look at these issues across the country. Go ahead, Sydney. And then this is a quick one. At some point, we'll have to update this to something more relevant, or more recent, I should say. This is, though, very relevant. We all, if we harken back to those early days of 2020, which seemed like a lifetime ago at this point, but in the beginning of the pandemic, obviously, everyone was scrambling. What are we going to do? How are we going to keep the doors open, or even, be able to pay the bills so when we can open the doors again, there's someone here to open them. And all of that was a part of the PPP program, right? Franchisees across the country, franchisors, suppliers took advantage of PPP to ensure that when they were allowed to get back to work, that there was work to get back to. As a part of that effort, IFA had a seat at the table, the virtual table, at least at that time, when this program was being put together, right? And just I highlight that because, but for IFA's engagement at the outset of the PPP program, franchisees almost would have certainly been ineligible to access PPP money, right? Because that goes back to the notion that franchising is just one big company. They don't need our help. They're not the small business owner who really needs this, right? We were able to ensure that franchisees had access to PPP money. And like I said, that, kept the lights on or kept the ability for folks to come back to work when they were allowed to, for countless franchisees across the country and franchisors for that matter. So like I said, this is just kind of a real world example of what IFA's GR means for you and for your brands and for your franchisees. Go ahead, Sydney. And then, here's a few other, kind of pats on our back, so to speak, but hopefully justifying our existence for you guys. But, again, the pandemic relief, PPP money, Maintaining, we're engaged in the FTC franchise rule. Obviously, for most of you, I'm sure you're familiar with the FTC franchise rule is the primary rule that governs the franchise business model in terms of FDDs, disclosures, so on and so forth. All federal rules are quote unquote reviewed every 10 years. Now the franchise business rule, the franchise rules 10-year review process began, I want to say 3 years ago now, and here we are still talking about it. So at this rate, we'll be reviewing it again 7 more years from now, and we're just going to keep going in the circle. But be that as it may, we are engaged with the FTC and have remained so to ensure that any updates to the FTC franchise rule primarily remain in its status quo, but at least ensuring that nothing makes it more challenging for folks to operate within the franchise model. We were engaged in accounting standards. We dealt with the FASB, or the Federal Accounting Standards Board. It's not necessarily a hotbed of franchising, but they make rules that have serious impacts on the franchise community. So if this is really just to highlight, if there's an issue out there, whether it's FTC, whether it's FASB, whether it's California or any place else, IFA's GR will engage on it. And oftentimes, we take cues from our members, right? So I want to ensure that you folks know if there's an issue out there that maybe your franchisees are telling you, or that you as a brand are experiencing, please flag that for us if we are not already aware of it, because it helps for us to know kind of what is on the mind of our membership, so that we can ensure that we direct our resources in ways that is most beneficial to IFA members. Go ahead, Sydney. Oh, I would be remiss. The last one there, defeating the nomination of David Weil, right? And this is a little in the weeds of Washington, but David Weil was nominated to be the head of the Wage and Hour Division of the Department of Labor. Without going into all of that and what it means and why it would have been bad, best suffice to say that he was the only presidential nominee to be defeated on the Senate floor since, I believe, 1981 or 82. So that goes to show you that when we leverage and we bring the franchise community to bear on an issue, it can really, really have an impact. So that's just another highlight as to, why it's important for you all to support what we do. And when we come asking for engagement, it's because we need it, and it will move the needle. Go ahead, Sydney. And then just some kind of top line 2023 policy challenges that we're looking at right now. Obviously, protection of the business model, right? That's what we do. That's what we're here for. The FAST Act in California, I could have a whole nother and have done plenty of other webinars on that, and happy to talk to folks offline about that. That's been a long running saga for the last 18 months now, that we have been engaged at every level and continue to be engaged, and it will be probably running out through at least 2024. There are various joint employer or independent contractor rulemakings in the midst right now, both at the National Labor Relations Board, Department of Labor, all of which we are engaged on, have either filed comments with or remain actively engaged as those rules make their way through the process. The FTC franchise rule, which I just touched on a second ago. One of the other big bullets for us is equitable treatment of franchisees, right? And oftentimes this goes back to what I mentioned in the beginning, when you talk about educational efforts with lawmakers, right? Because oftentimes franchisees are just seen as big businesses because they have a McDonald's or a Wendy's or a Hyatt or a Marriott or whatever it is. They're just associated with that brand name, as opposed to being looked at as individual owner operator in their community. So ensuring that franchisees are treated the same as non-franchise business owners. That's a huge issue for us. It touches a lot of different, wage and hour, labor, minimum wage, a whole host of scheduling, you name it. There can be kind of discriminatory treatment of franchisees. So we try to engage in each and every one of those when we see it. Labor shortages, obviously working with to try to ease that for brands and for franchisees. Non-compete. This one is especially pertinent given the FTC's announcement last week that they are going to look at a rule potentially banning the use of non-compete clauses. Another reason for us to continue engagement there. And then franchise relationship issues comes up every year, various state level, Oregon, Alabama, apparently it's going to be Arkansas, who knows where these come up. It's got a little bit of whack-a-mole, but they do come up almost every year in various states that we continue to engage on. Go ahead, Sydney. And then the last thing that I will flag is this goes back to that research and data that I mentioned. Last year, we issued our first labor survey And this is meant for franchisors, for the brands to look at. So this is the second annual labor survey. Went out last week. We would encourage all franchisor members to complete it. If you're a platform company, we would appreciate the platform company and each brand to complete the survey. And the deadline for the survey is January 20th. Not necessarily, this survey in particular isn't franchisee centric. We will have another survey for franchisees later this year. But I would encourage you, I know this announcement went out, I believe earlier this week. If you haven't seen it or you have questions about it, and I believe, Sydney, we will circulate this deck after this presentation to everyone who's here. So you can find the link right in this slide. But we just encourage you folks who are who are representative of brands to encourage you or somebody within your brand to fill out this survey. Like I said, it really helps us from a GR perspective when we have foundational data that allows us to go and speak to lawmakers, to regulators as they consider legislation. So just wanted to highlight this labor survey that is active right now and will be closing towards the end of this month. So with that, I will stay on. I got to jump off in about 8 minutes, but if you have questions from GR, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can feel free to reach out to me or anyone else on the GR team, and we'll be happy to work with you. And like I said, look forward to seeing you guys in Vegas, and thank you for being members.
Thanks, Jeff. We just had a couple OFO slides. If you don't mind running through those just really quick.
Oh, sure.
I know you already touched on the.
No problem. So
yeah.
Open for Opportunity, right? Or OFO for short. This is our primary tool right now that we have been engaged with. This is year 2 of OFO for us. And it's really, like I said, it's an effort to reshape and highlight the story around franchising, right? Because oftentimes, more often than you would think, when folks hear franchising, they think McDonald's and they think fast food, right? But this is an effort for us to highlight all that is franchising, and not that fast food and hotels aren't great franchise members, because they are. About 50% of our membership is in the hospitality and food space, but 50% of our membership isn't. When you're talking about 1,200 brands and 300 different lines of business, there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't food or hotel. So we are taking IFA on the road, and really just kind of spreading the good news that is franchising through our OFO campaign. Go ahead, Sydney. And yeah, again, leading with people, right? The franchise business owners themselves, that's a huge story for us to tell. Every franchisee we talk to has a story to tell. How did they become a franchisee? How many units do they own? How many people do they employ? Why franchising is for them? All of these things are huge needle movers, if you will, when we talk to policymakers at all levels of government. And we, IFA, work with all of the franchisees, all of the representatives that are part of OFO to ensure that folks know what know who they're talking to, know what they're saying. We don't just say like, here, show up here and tell your story, right? There's a lot more to it than that. So again, just ensuring that you all feel comfortable engaging with us and allowing us to work with your franchisees and your brands to tell their stories. And again, it will pay immeasurable dividends down the line as we have regulatory and policy fights across the country and here in DC. Yeah, and so again, this is just ways that folks can get involved, sharing social media on your channels, working with your members of Congress, which we will obviously help you do, and sharing your story. That's the biggest thing that OFO and Open for Opportunity is meant to do, is for allowing folks to share their stories with elected officials, so that, and it's really all about also foundational relationship building for us, right? Is so that when I have to go back to Mayor Fry in Minneapolis, asking him, please don't do X, Y, Z, do you remember all the relationships you built with franchisees when we had Open for Opportunity here, in January, right? So there are countless ways for your brands, for your franchisees to work with us in terms of highlighting that story. We want to be the amplifier, the megaphone for franchising, and that's what the Open for Opportunity campaign is all about. Go ahead, Sydney. Okay, so with that, I will stop. If you have questions, OFO, GR, or anything like that, feel free to reach out directly to me or anyone else on the IFA team, and we will happy to work with you guys and look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Thanks, Jeff. So my name is Eric Johnson. I am with the IFA Foundation nonprofit side, where we have a number of different projects going on, and we invite you as a member of IFA to get involved. The IFA Foundation is run by our executive director, Ricky Amos. And we have Casey, you can see there. She does a lot of the support work and behind the scenes stuff to help us to function in our main areas. Sydney, if you could advance. Excuse me. So one of the main areas within the IFA Foundation is VetFran, which I run personally. The VetFran program has been around for more than 30 years now. We celebrated our 30th anniversary last year. And so we're still in the middle of upgrading our logos. But VetFran was developed to help veterans get started in franchising. We have over 460 brands that are offering discounts to veterans within their FTD, anywhere from 10 to 100% off the franchise fee. Some of them even offer discounts on royalties as well to veterans because they know that veterans thrive in a franchise environment. So in order to bring them on board as franchisees, we work with them to find veterans, bring them into the website, find companies that have these discounts that want the veterans and help match them up and create those opportunities. So that is what VetFran has been doing for 30 years and continues to do. And we invite you to consider becoming a part of it if you offer a discount to veterans. Next slide, please. Another big area we have within the IFA Foundation is the Diversity Institute. David Smith is our senior manager for that. We have a number of affinity groups. We have the Pride Council. We have the Black Franchise Leadership Council, the Hispanic Latino Franchise Leadership Council, are all part of the Diversity Institute and our efforts there in those communities to, again, spread the word about franchising to help them find the resources they need to get started, whether it's finding financing or a brand that's going to work well in their neighborhood or whatever the case might be. Support and a network and that camaraderie within these different councils are all part of the Diversity Institute's plan. Next slide. And then our third pillar really is franchising gives back. That's where we give back as the IFA and the IFA Foundation, and also work with individual franchises across the country and in individual communities to give back to the community, whether it's helping clean up a school, disaster relief, scholarships, whatever. There's a million different ways that franchisees and franchise brands are helping to give back within their community. And the IFA Foundation has the Franchise Gives Back program to help with that, to help promote that, celebrate those great stories. If you're going to be in Las Vegas, you can partner with us. Keep your eye out in your email for more details. But we're going to have a fairly large Franchising Gives Back program right there in Las Vegas during the convention. And you can be a part of it both financially with your hands, helping to work at a school in the community. So there's a number of ways you can get involved, both at convention and throughout the year. And we certainly welcome your participation. Next slide. So before I toss it over to Paul, I just want to wrap up and say the IFA Foundation, we're here for you. You're able as an IFA member to get involved in a number of different ways. So if you have any questions, you can always check out the Foundation's website or reach out to either Ricky or David or myself. My email is ejohnson@franchise.org. So feel free to let me know if you have any questions. And with that, I'll turn it over to Paul.
Paul, you're muted.
God, that's like a first. I never mute myself. Thanks, Sydney. Hi, everyone. I'm Paul, IFA membership. Welcome. Thank you. I do see some of you have been members for a while. Some of you are brand new. Some of you are returning members. I'm just glad you're all here and really looking forward to seeing everybody in Las Vegas next month. We're on track to have over 4,000 people if things continue at the rate they're going, which is phenomenal. So a little bit about IFA membership, and Sydney, you can advance. I always like to tell people, we're the for-profit of the nonprofit within IFA. We bring in all the money so all the other departments could spend it. We're headed up by Jennifer Brandine, our Chief Revenue Officer. She's been on board with IFA a little over 3 years. She had the pleasure of joining right before COVID. And I always told her things kind of slow down a little bit after convention, but COVID hit and it's been crazy ever since. So, but we have an awesome an awesome team of folks, and she's been doing a stellar job kind of overseeing everything since she's been on board. We have the advertising and events team. Alan Catlett, my colleague, is kind of overseeing that side of the house. Carly Woolley, Senior Director of Advertising. She's been a colleague of mine here at IFA for probably 13, 15 years now. Same with Lynette James. She oversees sponsorships and exhibits, and she's been with IFA about 15 plus years. Janine Littrell is also kind of overseeing conferences and all of our meetings as well. And then on the education side, and you'll hear from Brittany here in a little bit, but we have our awesome new CFE team. Sandy Curtis heads it up, and then Brittany oversees our certification program, our CFE program. And then we also have under advertising and events, we have Lauren Smith, and then Katie, who works directly with Janine on getting people registered and assisting on all of those things that are happening with the convention, and then ongoing with other meetings as well. Then on the membership team right now, it's just myself and Sydney. We're a lean, mean fighting machine. So we're responsible for bringing in about $9.4 million this year. So a little bit more than half of the IFA budget. And we are short about 3 people on our team, but I've been earmarked to hire 2 more folks. We'll most likely do that after convention when we have a little bit more time. And Sydney's been with IFA a little over a year now, and she's doing a stellar job. So if I always tell everybody, we provide concierge service here at IFA. Whenever you need anything, even if it's something that we don't directly oversee, you could always reach out to myself or to Sydney, and if we don't have the answer to your question, we'll get it for you. And then on the biz ops side, we have Sarah Williamson. She's been on the team here for a while. Oh, sorry about that, Sydney. 2 years you've almost been with IFA. Gosh, what do I know? Here I'm at, I've been with IFA, I don't know, longer than I care to admit. I think I'm coming up on my 24th year. So it's, I always forget how long other folks have been here. And then Caitlin Russell, and then Leah Simmons is heading up our LMS side of things here in the house, and they've been very, very busy with that lately. So that is the entire kind of business side of the house, IFA member value and services team. Next slide, please, Sid. So a little bit more about IFA, and some of this you may already know, but we were founded in 1960 by the founder of Dunkin' Donuts. So when I started here at IFA in early in 99, I had the pleasure of knowing Bill Rosenberg, the founder of Dunkin' Donuts. He was the founder of IFA, and he used to tell the story. He was with a few other, founders of franchise companies, and this was in the mid to late 50s. And so in 1960, as he always said it, there was some back and forth about starting an association, and he stood up and said, he threw down $100 on the table and said, let's start this bleep, bleep, bleep association. And here we are 60 years later. So, I always like to thank Bill Rosenberg for starting IFA. And of course, our mission has never changed. It's to protect, enhance, and promote franchising, primarily domestically, but also globally as well. And then our members, our members make up, 300 different lines of business that make up franchising. I mean, franchising really isn't an industry; it's a means of distribution and growth. But for lack of a better term, we just call it the franchise industry. But it's really made up of 300 different verticals that happen to utilize the business format franchise model as a means of growth and expansion. And our members, we refer to it as kind of the 3-legged stool, if you will. And you cannot have a well-balanced stool without the 3 legs of franchisee, franchisor, and supplier. And right now our franchisor members, we're just north of 1,200 franchise brands that are members, and right around 11,000 franchisee members, and about 600 supplier members who are active within IFA's membership. And then, of course, a little bit of a breakdown for you all on kind of the profile of our members on the franchisor side. So it's we look at it in kind of 4 buckets. You've got your early stage, and this could be also referred to as a startup, and that's less than 10 units, and that makes up about 25% of our membership. And then you've got emerging brands. They have 11 to just under 200 units, and that believe it or not makes up the lion's share of our membership. So I've always told people, and that's never changed as long as I've been here. The lion's share of our franchisor members really have 200 units and less. And then established members just under 200 to just under 500 franchised units. And that's about 14% of our membership. And then the big boys and girls, 500 plus units. That's 14% of our membership. And I should also add that, we only focus on US brands or US units. Though some of our members obviously have a global footprint, but when it comes to these numbers here, it's only focused on US locations. And then the primary decision maker within each of our member companies, they focus on, it tends to be the franchise development, franchise operations person, C-suite folks, CEO, and then comms and marketing and legal. And then the primary value that our members tell us they obtain from IFA, and the reason why they join is for the government relations protection and the advocacy, the education and thought leadership, learning from your peers. I mean, I tell this to people all the time, because, yes, there's competitors within the 300 verticals, but franchising is franchising, whether you're, training dogs, taking care of kids, switching out mufflers, flipping hamburgers, or trying to fill hotel beds. Franchising is franchising. It's all the same. And people love to give back to the people coming up the ladder behind them. And from my vantage point, I just see that all the time. That's why we call it the franchise family. I mean, people, this is a relationship business. Trust me, people are, the best relationships I've made is just riding an escalator, riding up, next to somebody on the escalator, or riding down the elevator with somebody, or sitting next to somebody in a session, whether it's an IFA event or a non-IFA event. If you're shy, I would probably say, run far and fast from franchising. You can't be shy in this business. And believe me, you will make some valued friends, and you will get some valued mentors out of and through your involvement in IFA. And that's one of the other things, it's the networking, the relationship building, the mentoring and the support you get from your peers. And then also business growth and lead generation is the other thing that we provide here at IFA. And then, of course, just a snapshot on, and again, just some additional information on the IFA, member value snapshot, if you will. So obviously through your membership, it's the member journey, it's the member value that we provide, that Sydney and I provide to our members. When we're talking to prospective members, we like to educate them on everything that they'll, that's currently offered to our members, and that will be offered to them once they join. And then ongoing, it's the concierge service, and I can't stress that enough. Whenever our members need anything, they could always reach out to any of us and anybody on the IFA staff, and we'll assist them and work with them. But keep in mind, you could always reach out to myself and Sydney, and we will help you. And if we don't have the direct answer, we will get it for you. And then, of course, there is the ongoing, networking and mentoring. Whether it's through IFA events, through our, we have our FBN program, our regional program in, 30 plus cities around the country. Matt Haller and I, our CEO, we were just down in Atlanta at the Southeast Franchise Forum, which also operates as one of our FBN programs on a quarterly basis. They tend to meet monthly, I believe, but we had, about 90 people at their meeting yesterday. I mean, on Tuesday rather. It was a wonderful event. And we have IFA committees, so listen, time is precious, but if, usually if you're a new member, or even an existing member, but if you want to start giving back and networking with your peers, or just be seen as a thought leader, we would love for you to get involved in an IFA committee, and you could always reach out to me or reach out to Sydney, and we'll kind of walk you through the process and educate you on all the various committees in the forum. So, we have a franchisor forum, we have a franchisee forum, we have a supplier forum. I always like to say we're the stewards of the organization. It belongs to the dues paying members. And, if not for our members and our valued volunteer leaders, we wouldn't have an organization. So we're always looking for new blood. So if you've never participated, or if you're interested in participating, I should say, in a committee or forum, please reach out. And then, of course, we do have our mentor program called Friendship. So if you're a franchisor looking for a franchisor mentor, franchisee will pair you up with a franchisee mentor, and a supplier will pair you up with a supplier mentor. And the mentors are longstanding members of IFA, and they'll work with you for a year, but even longer. If some folks who are mentors within IFA have been doing have been doing it for years. So if you're interested there, again, it's a wonderful program, and it's been providing some wonderful services, to the IFA community. And then, of course, there's leadership opportunities, always to, ultimately serve on the IFA board of directors, on the supplier board, on the franchisee board as well, because we are always looking for new volunteer leaders. And then, of course, through our events and education, our CFE program, webinars, workshops, and roundtables. And then, of course, IFA events and partner events. We partner up with Franchise Update Media Group. We partner with MFE, Com Exposium, with the Franchise Expos. These are all, wonderful events. And we also have some preferred vendor partners. And you're going to be hearing from my good friend, Abby Schmidt, who's also in leadership on the supplier board, and is with Paychecks, and they're a preferred vendor partner of IFA. And like I said, you'll be hearing from her in a second here. And then, of course, there's advertising opportunities, whether you're a franchisor or supplier. I would highly encourage you to reach out to Carly Woolley on our advertising team, and she'll educate you on all the opportunities that are available to you. And then also on the marketing and digital assets side, we're continually educating our members through our flagship publication, Franchising World, which is primarily digital these days, and then through our digital newsletters. And this is how we get information out primarily to our members. Next slide, please. And then, of course, like I had mentioned earlier, our forums, our IFA board of directors, and then our various forums, the franchisee, franchisor, and supplier forum, and our various committees. So Matt Haller is our president and CEO. He works directly with the board of directors, as does Catherine Bartley, our chief of staff. And then Paige Moody is our manager of operations. And they all work very closely with the IFA board. And then, liaison through the staff to the IFA board as well. And then the various committees are all listed here. We do list and have descriptions on all of the committees on the IFA website. But if you're interested in finding out more about committees, like I said, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to assist you there. And then, forum networking events, the franchisor forum, Hader on our government relations team is the liaison to the franchisor forum. They are having quarterly 50-minute calls for relationship building and learning. And then the supplier forum has bi-monthly kind of discussion webinars, so suppliers can network with other suppliers. And then we have kind of breakout rooms as well. And these are just, wonderful opportunities, for these two separate groups within our membership to, network and learn from their peers. And then, as I mentioned earlier, our Franchise Business Network program, our FBN program, it's what I refer to as our regional program, because there are not state franchise associations like there are state retail associations or state restaurant associations. But, these are groups that are spearheaded by IFA members, primarily suppliers. And if you're interested in finding out more about a group in your city, or even hosting, please do reach out to me or Sydney, and we'll be able to educate you on the FBN program. And then this is just more information on Friendship. And this information is up on the website as well. There is a process of kind of a 4-step process and how the whole program works. We try to systematize everything here at IFA. I mean, the franchise model and the association model is very similar. So, but you'll find additional information on Friendship on the website and how it all works. But it really is a wonderful opportunity for you to really learn from an expert within your vertical in the franchise space, whether you're a franchisor or franchisee or supplier. I highly encourage you to take advantage of the program. It doesn't cost anything. You just need to be a member. Actually, I also open it up to non-members. It's just a great way for somebody to really become the best of the best within the franchise space. Next slide, please, Sid. Then, of course, IFA Convention is fast approaching. Listen, I'm biased. I think all of us at IFA are biased. All of our volunteer leaders are biased, but it truly is the premier franchising event for the year, not just domestically, but globally. We also have the World Franchise Council coming in, the executive directors of just about every single franchise association from around the world. I jokingly call it the United Nations of Franchising. They have a 6-hour, I believe, kind of a board meeting in conjunction with our convention, and they bring in delegations from their countries as well. So it truly is, puts the eye in IFA. But looking forward to seeing everybody there. Now, listen, if you've never been to the IFA convention, I'm sure my email address will be handy at some point, but I will spend 45 minutes up to an hour with you on the phone, walking through the agenda with you to help you maximize your time at the convention and to answer any questions you have. So just know I do that, daily with a number of folks. So we'll be happy to do. If anybody on this call has never attended the convention, reach out to me. I'll spend, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour with you, walking you through the agenda and make sure you're going to maximize your time at the convention. And then this is our calendar of events, which you could also find on our website. These are all of our IFA events, and then some of our partner events are on here as well. Aside from our annual convention, the Legal Symposium is the next largest conference that we put on, primarily attended by outside counsel and in-house counsel as well. There's non-attorneys who attend as well. I mean, if there are people who, on the supplier side, if you're doing business with other, with a lot of the attorneys, or if that's you think would be a good place for you to start to cross-pollinate and cross-promote, then you should really attend, because everybody on the legal side of franchising attends the Legal Symposium. And then, of course, our partner MFV, there's the International Franchise Expo in New York. There's a West Coast Franchise Expo West coming up in Phoenix, and then Franchise Expo South, which is in Florida. There's opportunities for suppliers to exhibit at those events. Obviously, if you're a franchisor, I would highly encourage you to exhibit there as well. Franchisors do receive a 7% discount on their booth if they're an IFA member to exhibit. And then, of course, our partnership with Franchise Update Media Group. We have our Franchise Customer Experience Conference in Atlanta in June, and then the Franchise Leadership and Development Conference also in Atlanta in October. And then I've already mentioned the 3 expos coming up, but these are the dates. Expo West, March 31st through April 1st, IFE in New York at the Javits Center, June 1 through 3, Franchise Expo South, Miami Beach, September 8 through 9. And then, of course, advertising and sponsorship opportunities. Like I said, reach out to Lynette if you're interested in exhibiting or sponsoring IFA events. Reach out to Carly if you're interested in advertising or doing a webinar with us or a lunch and learn. And these are also ways for you to continue to be educated on best practices and to stay on top of what's happening on the legislative front and the regulatory front. This is how we communicate to our members as well. Next slide, please. And of course, some of our preferred vendors, and I'm going to be turning things over here shortly to my good friend and colleague over at Paychex, Abby Schmidt. But Paychex is our one of our premier preferred vendor partners. They obviously payroll, but they have HR and benefit services and insurance services as well. And then my good friend Tom Epstein at Franchise Payment Networks, credit card processing, and also they have a loyalty platform called Pollinate. And then we have two other preferred vendors, Answer Connect, and and then also Benetrends Financial. And all of these folks will be exhibiting at the convention. I would highly recommend that you stop by their booths, but if you would like additional information on them, I'd be happy to put you in touch with my primary contact at each of those preferred vendor company brands. Then, of course, again, our ongoing IFA webinar series, we have our supplier member workshop. The next workshop is coming up January 25th from 2 to 3:45 p.m. And you can register for that. It's free, and you can register online for that. And then that is also sponsored by the Supplier Forum Advisory Board. And it's a great way for suppliers to network and learn from other suppliers. So I would highly recommend that you join us on the 25th, 2 p.m. Eastern time.
And Abby, you can jump in now.
Okay,
Oh, wonderful. Abby.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sydney.
Hi.
Abby, let me turn things over to my good friend Abby Schmidt at Paychex. Hi, Abby.
Thank you so much. Hi, Paul. Thank you, my friend. Welcome, everybody, to the IFA family and community. As Paul has said, as many people have said, this is truly the franchise family and the place to be to grow your business, whether you're a franchisor, a franchisee, or a supplier. My name is Abby Schmidt, and as Paul mentioned, I'm with Paychex, but today I'm here as the lead committee member of the Supplier Forum Advisory Board, and I'd like to invite all of you, whether you're a supplier or not, to join our networking session on January 25th. And the topic is pre-convention networking tips to maximize your time in Las Vegas. And as Paul said, we're expecting over 4,000 people at this event. It is going to be busy, it's going to be fun, and we figured what better way to welcome all of the new members, but to join a session to get some tips and tricks from the old timers to learn how to maximize your time. And this networking session will give you an opportunity to ask questions, to make some new connections, and also to really prepare the 4 weeks leading up to convention, and then also with some on-site tips. I do want to also let you know that the Supplier Forum Advisory Board is getting, we're in the process of organizing a couple meetups at convention. So stay tuned, check your email for times and dates of when we're going to be meeting up so that you can meet people in person and take advantage of the networking, but also the mentoring programs that are available through the IFA. So I look forward to seeing you all on the 25th and then in Las Vegas. Thanks so much, Paul and Sydney.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. And now I guess I'll be turning things over to Brittany, right? Right, Sydney?
Yep, I'm here, Paul.
There you are. I knew
I'm not used
there
to
you are. I
going
see you
last,
now.
so it's like, what's going on? But
I know.
no, it's
Take it away, my friend.
thank you, Paul. And we have exactly 4 minutes left, so I'm going to cut my presentation in half. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to IFA. Thank you for being a member of IFA. My name is Brittany Cosby, and I am the Senior Manager of Certification Programs at IFA. I am representing the Education Department. In the Education Department, we are a team of 2, including myself and the VP of Education. We administer the Certified Franchise Executive Program, which is a professional credential in the profession of franchising. In my particular role, I work with about 600 CFE candidates and over 1,000 CFEs. So certified franchise executives who have gone through this program. In short, the CFE program can be described as getting your master's in franchising. It is a 3-year program that is typically completed in no more than 12 to 18 months. It allows candidates to complete education, participation, examination, and core requirements to earn their CFE designation. We are in the process of going through national accreditation. So with national accreditation, our courses will not only count toward the CFE program, but it will also allow candidates who have another professional credential, such as a credential in HR, SHRM, professional designation or credential, to also use CFE courses to renew their professional credential in a different industry. On screen is just a number of benefits and reasons why candidates choose to pursue the CFE. For professional development opportunities, that's probably the #1 reason. Candidates are able to take courses in franchise law, HR, infrastructure. We have a number of professional development courses to meet candidates where they are, based on their area of interest, based on the specific specialty or area they work in franchising. Peer networking, we offer networking opportunities at in-person events, such as convention is a big one. We also have a presence on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, we feature recent CFE graduates on a weekly basis for candidates who are interested in connecting with other CFEs or candidates who have gone through the program. Commitment to franchising, the CFE program does have a renewal process every 3 years. So after earning the CFE designation, renewing is the CFE's commitment to franchising. The renewal process includes taking additional professional development courses, as well as attending events. And then lastly, industry recognition and professional standing. After completing all of the program requirements, candidates are able to use the CFE designation behind their name. We will hold our next CFE Welcome webinar on January 25th, and I'll include the link in the chat if you would like to register. We'll have a 60-minute webinar dedicated to discussing all things CFE, from the requirements to procedures to course offerings, opportunities to earn CFE credits, and so forth. So I'll include that link in the chat, and thank you all so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brittany. Paul, I can just close it out. This is our last
Okay.
slide. So these are the key contacts in all of our departments, but I also dropped the contact information for all of our speakers today in the chat, as well as some others that we discussed. But if you have any questions, like Paul said, and everyone, all the speakers today, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are more than happy to help. And if one of us does not know the answer, we will direct you to who does. Yeah, thank you all for your time today, and thank you for being IFA members. And we hope to see all of you in Vegas in about a month.
Thanks, everyone. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.